I'm Nick Paget, Chief Innovation Officer and co-founder at Meadow. I'm very biased, but also genuine answer, the beverage can. I think we know it, there's 400 billion produced a year. It's so good, but it's only primarily used for one thing, which is beverages. Everyone knows them, everyone uses them, everyone knows how to recycle them, and we like it so much, we think it should be used for way more than just beverage. I live in Stockholm. They're very, very good at sorting everything. I would say I've always been a good sorter, but I definitely, less about where I work and more about where I live, but I definitely sort every single item, plastic, paper, aluminum, no more putting it into a sort later. Consumers can only do so much, behaviorally, and they can have all the best willpower in the world to purchase less or to be more responsible with what they do with waste. But I think that we need to make sure that on the supply chain side and the manufacturing side, we're making it as easy as possible for consumers. So with that's being a brand, being a manufacturer, being a retailer, we need to make sure that the products that are going onto market, which are being bought in supermarkets or online, are making all the good choices on behalf of the consumers. I think that's really key. I always like to say supermarkets are where you go to buy your trash. Unfortunately, it's true, and we need to make sure that the trash people are buying isn't trash, and it can end up as new materials. But that's not for the consumer to decide. That's for the stakeholders in the supply chain to decide. When I went to the UK to do the Masters, I think the first time I thought I sort of found my people, people from all different disciplines, all different countries, coming together really with a shared mission to solve technical or environmental challenges. I think that was while people had different interests, different skills, everybody was really passionate about solving challenges, and sustainability is really high on the agenda there. So I would say that it was a big turning point just to see how many people from how many different backgrounds have sort of a passion, an incredible amount of creativity, and an incredible amount of motivation to solve big challenges. In terms of sustainability, there's two, I think, approaches. One is dealing with the waste that makes it to the world and ends up as waste. How do we deal with it responsibly? That's very meaningful and important, which I think insulation for refugee camps is a great way to deal with waste. So is recycling, so is reuse. But the more impactful and more efficient way is the upstream innovations, which are just preventing the waste from getting there in the first place. So I think that's a common theme with all the work I do, is sometimes you do have to deal with the waste that makes it out, but you also have to address making sure that less waste makes it out. So I think that's a key theme within the work I've done. I think the scale is pretty incredible, especially when you talk about the beverage can. It's microns of difference that will be the difference between a can opening or not, or exploding or not. Really tiny levels of tolerance. But then on the sort of macro set side, you're talking about millions of tons of material. So I think what's really exciting, just from a problem-solving point of view, is you might be looking through a microscope one day at tiny cracks in material, and another day you might be thinking about things that seem incredibly abstract, which is, a tonnage of material that's getting through a whole circular recycling system. And sometimes those small details that you are iterating and manipulating on the product side manifest into incredibly big material and resource considerations at the supply chain side.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of it. I think it's all about the people. I think we can have as many guidelines or philosophies about what we think is important when it comes to sustainability, but I think it's impossible to do better than the the motivations of the people that we work with. It's important that they, in every decision they make, large or small, is on board with the overall mission, which is to make a dent in the massive amount of waste that's produced all the time. So UniAlloy is very exciting for us. It's something that the industry's been working for a long time on. Our partners, DRT, have been developing with us alongside Novelis ways to incorporate the highest possible level of recycled content into the beverage can. That's why we love it. There's 75% of recycled content global averages, but companies like Novelis can produce theoretically 100% recycled products. Sort of our mission from an innovation standpoint is to make sure that we make room for those types of technologies and we can help bring it to market. So we've been working with DRT, with Novelis for a long time on ways that we can increase the amount of recycled content into our can ends. And because of the way our opening works mechanically, it's really well suited for the UniAlloy end. And it still delivers the user experience, which people are really excited about, which is that satisfying pop, that satisfying tactile click, and then the aroma that comes out of can because of the freshness that comes with cans as a beverage product. What we hear is most exciting about this from a consumer point of view, and that's who we always start with. We do a lot of testing with end users. We do user testing for months at a time in homes. We want to make sure that the consumers want to use this. And we know that the most important thing to them is convenience, really along everything else. So if it's not going to work better, if it's not going to be easier to dispose of, if it's not going to fit into their lifestyle, then it's probably not going to fly. The sustainability is fantastic, and we know that consumers want to do the best they can, but it's going to have to be delivered to them through better user experience, more convenience, and a more fun, playful user experience. So I would say that what we're most excited about and proud of is putting a smile on someone's face when they open a can of soap. Something that I suppose is new from a user experience point of view. I think we've seen really exciting things happen with coffee cups. Whereas before you walk into a coffee shop, it's a paper cup with a plastic lid. There's better experiences that happen when consumers decide to invest in coffee cups that they like the look of, they like the performance of. We've seen the same with water bottles. An insulated stainless steel water bottle that keeps your water cold is just categorically better than a PET bottle that you use once and throw away. And I think we really like those behaviors where you're taking the product out of the packaging. So a water bottle that's a product that you use time and time again because you like the way it works, you like the way that it looks, that's a behavior that we just will see in the kitchen and bathroom. Why should you have on your sink, why should you have on your countertop a plastic bottle that's falling over and you have to squeeze and shake and tap every time you want to use it? Why wouldn't you have something that looks great, that works well? So I think we're seeing the behavior for refill in all those categories, and maybe one that just needs to catch up a little bit is home, beauty, personal care, and cleaning products. But we're seeing it happen, and I think it's inevitable that it will happen.